What if I were to tell you there's a game that combines Scott Pilgrim, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and turn-based combat mixed with South Asian influence? You'd probably look at me like I was a madman. Now, what if I were to tell you this game was amazing too? It sounds impossible, but it happened. Outer Loop Games made one of the most unique video games I've ever played, with an amazing story and beautifully written, flawed characters that both feel out of this world and grounded. You play a 20-something named Jala, who has returned to her hometown after running away with an ex. This game starts with you quickly realizing that Jala is a flawed character who has hurt many people. Jala has issues with her parents, siblings, lovers, and even herself. This beautifully written story is about patching up struggles with past relationships and growing to be healthier individuals who are supportive of each other. I'm gonna go off script real quick, but this was what got me hooked. Growing up on an island and just being kind of a rowdy teenager, I've had a lot of conflicts with people over time, and whenever I go back, I feel like I'm always kind of patching things up, whether that's family members or former friends or past relationships, so be it. And I'm kind of in that place where life's too short, and so whenever I see someone that I may have wronged in the past, I try to make amends. And so that part of this game got me really hooked. All right, back to the script. Along with this, the story talks about being a first-generation Asian American who is gay, and it talks about how not everyone is lucky to have supportive parents. And I think this game does a really beautiful job talking about how we as society deal with cultural and social pressures by friends and family, and how we deal with it ourselves, you know, to like fit in. This game is a turn-based loose RPG. I use the term loose very heavily. But yeah, turn-based games are normally a turn-off for me. I really don't like that many. I think there's only a handful of turn-based games that I like. More of a first-person shooter, third-person shooter, choose your own adventure kind of guy. I loved how the story of this was so much, and I loved how the story is intertwined with the gameplay. In the middle of the game having combat, the characters will talk to each other and discuss just how they're feeling, you know, and their mental state. I love how, based on how they're feeling, the environment changes and turns into something that I think elevates more than just gameplay. I don't know. It's not gameplay for gameplay's sake. It's actually like gameplay done with storytelling. And maybe it's just me not playing that many turn-based games, but I felt like this was really unique and different. And I love the costumes that all these characters have, because it really shows the characters' personalities. It shows what everyone is like. It shows their insecurities. It shows how confident a certain character might be at that moment. And I love how every character can kind of feels real. Like it's very grounded, but also just so out of this world, and it feels real. It feels like you're in someone's head. It feels like these characters have things that they've wanted to say for years just bottled up, and you're seeing therapy sessions going down with people actually like talking and communicating, and it's such a weird gameplay loop, but I absolutely love it. I think the way that it flows, sadly it flows so quick that the game is very short, but it flows so amazing that when you're in the game, it's an experience that I don't think I've ever had, and I don't know if I ever will have again. I have only ever cried in like a handful of video games. Last of Us, Cyberpunk, and really this. I just love how real these characters are, man. And I love how it is, and I didn't want it to end, you know. Even in the combat, like the combat got really difficult, but I didn't want it to end. I liked knowing more about who I was facing as an enemy, which is so weird because, you know, normally when you play a boss battle, you don't really care about what these people are thinking. You don't, you know, like Star Wars, I guess, you know, when I'm facing Darth Malik, I don't really care about like Darth Malik, and like his upbringing. But this game, you know, I cared more about what these people had to say, you know, even though I'm just meeting these characters, and normally you don't care about like the antagonists, and I don't know, it's so beautifully written that I'm just kind of off script right now, just like spitballing like just how amazing this game is. That being said, this game is super short. It took me about 7 hours to complete the game, and there's still a lot of content for me to do, but like not that much content, if that makes any sense. Like there's a lot of little side quest things I can do, but the story, it ended extremely abruptly, which really sucks because there's like no DLC for this game, and that was really disappointing because I was heavily invested in it. Not so much necessarily the very beginning when you're like dealing with like the kids in the cult, the bear, which is such a random thing to say. He's a mascot. He's the cult's mascot. Towards the end of the game, that's when this game gets like really interesting, and it really sucked me in. I'd say like it's weird because it's interesting in the very beginning of the game, and then maybe like the second hour in, it kind of doesn't. It's about a 7-hour game. So like the first 2 hours super interesting, hour 3, 4 kind of boring, and then it picks up around like 5, 6, 7, and then it just abruptly ends. And it sucks because at the very end of the game, it introduces 2 characters you hear about throughout the entire game, and you really only get to meet them in the last 30 minutes, hour to 30 minutes before the game. One of them you kind of meet way earlier, but it's not the real version of them, kind of entering spoiler territory. But yeah, it sucks because like these last 2 characters, I would have loved to like really get to know them, you know, because there's so much you learn. There's so much about them that you learn throughout, and you don't really see it. It feels very rushed, sadly. And I feel like the game could have been longer, or they could have added an expansion. Honestly, they could have probably cut the cult stuff out of the game, but oh wells. And yeah, I don't know. This is a weird review because like I don't really want to spoil anything. I think just based off the art alone from like this video, I think you could either look at it and be like, nope, not for me, and that's a-okay, or you can look at it and be like, oh, this is interesting, and then try to pick it up. And I think you should pick it up just because I think this game has a lot to say, and I think it's one of the most unique games I've ever played. When I first downloaded it on Game Pass, I honestly did not know what to expect. I kind of wanted to play something short that was single player based. I ended up falling in love with the overall game. I don't know, I wish it wasn't as short as it is, because I genuinely liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. And like I said, it's not meant for everyone. It has a unique voice, and it knows its audience. All I'm just going to say is I highly enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend trying it out, at least if you're open-minded. But yeah. I'm going to end it there. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you played the game, let me know what you thought, because I genuinely loved it, and I don't want to spoil it I think it's that good. And yeah.